All right, so number one, someday will probably be an article on its own, which is revolutionize your frequently asked questions. The first step to this, because this is a very long topic, so I'll just try to go over it briefly. The first step is to identify the right questions. You should be answering questions initially. If you don't have any FAQs, you're talking about bottom of the funnel questions, those sales questions. Like, for example, with us, two questions we very, very often get is how long does it take and how much does it cost? And so those are the kinds of things that we answer in our FAQ because we know lots of people have those questions. We can then move on to the second step. So identify the questions is first, and the second step in revolutionizing your FAQs is writing short form answers. And short form answers are 1 or 2 or 3 sentences. Maybe you'll have 4, but it's usually less than a paragraph, and it's not the perfect answer. And a lot of people can get hung up on this. This is a challenge. I have a hard time with this myself, which is I can't give a complete answer to an FAQ 100% of the time, and that's okay. I want to answer, it's an FAQ if it applies to 50% or more. Might even be a lower percentage depending on how much you want to dive into that topic. But it doesn't have to be 99% of the time. 80% of the time is fine. 60% of the time is fine. Even 50% of the time in my mind is fine because you can kind of say, half the time it's this, and the other half of the time it's one of a variety of answers. And then we get into, in just one of the later steps is the long form. So it's okay to acknowledge that this is not the perfect answer for everyone, but give people an idea of what the answer looks like. Give them a ballpark figure. Give them a rough timeline. That's the first step, is write the short form answer. Step 3 in your FAQ process is to write your long form answers. And these are great blog articles or newsletters or even custom built out pages on your website. They can provide a much deeper level of detail. They can cover various scenarios. Again, you're not going to cover 100%, but if your FAQ only covered 50% of the time, if you answered a question that was like, what's the price? And it's $250 a month for 12 months. Unless you're doing this upgrade, and unless you have a really big thing to start with, and unless, find those top 2 or 3% and 2 or 3 variations, and write a long form answer that sort of describes those exceptions to the rule. And by then you'll have covered 90-95% of the time. In addition, long form FAQ answers, which are great blog posts or custom pages on your website, those answers are a great opportunity to talk about showcase your expertise and showcase your differentiators. So you can talk about how, 50% of the time we do it this way because we're experts at this we're experts at the kitchens, but we're also really good at baths. I mean, that's the other 25, that's 25% of what we do. And then the remaining 25% is random stuff, if you want to call it that, right? Work on your wording a little bit, but you get the idea that you're talking about your expertise in that 50% and how you're also really good at that other 25%, and that's okay. I mean, if you could double the number of, take that 50%, let's say it's kitchens. If you could double the number of kitchens you get, but you lost your bathrooms, that might be okay. In fact, it might simplify your business. So it's okay to talk about why you do things a certain way and why that's not always the answer. The great thing about a long form FAQ is if someone reads it, if they go through it, it shows that they're interested and it shows that you thought about them and that you have answers for them. It's really a relationship building tool. Step 4 is to consider your placement. So where you put FAQs on your website is going to vary depending on the question, depending on your industry, depending on where you're placed in your industry as far as how you're competing, and depending on the customer. It's not a bad idea to tease a couple on the homepage. You may not even call them FAQs. It's usually a very good idea to have some of them on specific service pages. So if you have residential HVAC service and you have commercial HVAC service, then it probably makes sense to have commercial specific questions on that page and residential questions on that page, because those are very different customers. They're going to have very different questions. So consider your placement carefully. Don't just dump it all on an FAQ page and call it good. That's not a bad idea, but where else could it be in the website that would help build the relationship, that would help guide the customer down the path from step A to B to C? Because a lot of times that's what's an easy way to improve your website and get more value out of it and use it to embrace those relationships. Hey, here's some information on our commercial HVAC services. By the way, here's some questions that you might want to read that most people ask. Having gotten a summary or skimmed through the summary, here's the FAQs, right? People want to know, do you accept payment at closing instead of up front? Yes, we do. And then maybe read more FAQs. So consider your placement. Again, going back to our first main point, from the perspective of the client, of the customer, of what's best for them and not so much what's best for you, because what's best for them will ultimately be best for you. And step 5 in FAQs is to leverage your FAQs. Once you've written short form and long form answers, even if you haven't gotten to the long form answers, take those FAQs and spread them out to your staff. Let them know about them. Turn those short answers into email templates that can be just click, click, boom. Oh, I got this question. They want to know what our availability is. They want to know what our pricing is. Boom, here's the information. And you can put a short form answer in an email and then just write, for more details on special scenarios, check out, and then link to the long form answer. So leverage your short form answers into email templates with links to long form. And then also use those short form answers on the phone, right? You can just print them out, put them on your desk, put them on your office staff's desk and say, look, when somebody calls, you can pretty much read this answer. I mean, I'm not saying turn your brain off, right? One of the great things about small business is our ability to flex and to really listen to the customer. We're not always reading a script, but we can take from those bigger businesses that concept that sometimes a script is a great place to start. And we're not scripting 100 questions and a whole logic flow through an entire customer request. We're just getting things started with an answer that's consistent and that has woven into it what we want customers to start thinking about as they're starting to build that relationship with us. So use your FAQs on the phone.